guys, today I'm so excited because I got this package in the mail yesterday, and this is the Scooby Doo and Glamlite collection. I have been wanting this ever since they sneak peeked it. I wasn't sure if it was going to get sent to me in PR, but I assumed it would since I am on Glamlite's PR list, and I have gotten pretty much every release that they've ever done except for like the collabs. So I had a feeling that this was coming. I was kind of expecting it to come a little bit sooner, but it doesn't seem like anybody else has really gotten their packages yet. I've seen like 2 videos, I think, so seems like everybody got them around the same time. But this is a super fun collection. I can't wait to show you what is in it. So we're just gonna jump straight in. I'm gonna do 2 looks today, and I'm gonna use both of the palettes, obviously. So maybe we'll just start with the palettes. So this collection does have 2 palettes in it. This collection is already available. You can use my code Annette to save 15% off. I will have all of the details linked down below in my description box, as well as the products, but let's talk about the palettes. So I will be the first one to admit, I don't know all of the references here, because when I watched Scooby Doo, I was probably 6 years old, I want to say. And it was definitely in Norwegian if I did. I did grow up in Norway, so a lot of the like cartoons and like, you know, collections that have come out that are kind of nostalgic are not things that I am super invested in myself. And a lot of the times I would have watched it in a different language. So like I said, the references aren't exactly the same. But this is the Rephr Raggy palette. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. I don't know that saying, but this is the palette. It's such a fun color story. Like, I love greens together with purples and teals, and it's just really cool. I can't wait to dig into this. This one is for sure my favorite out of the 2, but the other one is really pretty as well. This one has more of those kind of purples and teals and pinks in it, and this one is called the Creeps and Crawls palette. So I think that they did an amazing job with both of these color stories, and I'm excited to get them on my eyes and see if it is the normal good Glamlite quality that I am used to, which I am sure it is. The highlighting palette, oh my god, like when I opened the package and I saw this and I saw the packaging, I was like, oh my god, this is unlike anything else that I've ever seen, because it actually like flips and has 2 different images on it, which I think is so cool. And then the highlighters themselves are beautiful. These are the kind of formulas that are in the Noctilucent palette from Blend Bunny. I can already tell just from swatching them. They have that kind of iridescent base with a color to them. I love this kind of formula. I already know I'm going to love this palette, so I'm kind of biased already with some of these products, but we're of course going to try them on and see if I am correct in my assumptions. The collection also has 3 lipsticks, which are such beautiful colors, very wearable colors. And I was surprised when I swatched the darkest one, which is kind of like a berry. Like, I almost think that ended up being my favorite after swatching, and I thought for sure that it would be the nude. But all of these are colors that I can definitely see myself wearing because they are so pretty. I also have a mascara here from Glamlite, and I think that this is the first time they've come out with mascara. I could be mistaken, but I think this is their first one. So this is called the Batscara, which is very fun name, and it also has a liquid liner in here, which the Barbie collection also came with a liquid liner that's sort of the same thing, but in a little bit of a different packaging. And I actually haven't tried the Barbie one yet. I've had it kind of on my desk in front of me. I'm meaning to try it, and then I just keep forgetting, but I'm gonna try my best to remember to use this one today. And the last thing in the package was a pair of lashes, and I'm definitely gonna try these as well. They look really pretty. Maybe going to be a little bit too big for me, but we're gonna give them a go, see what they're like. Also, the packaging for all of these things, really nice. I'm not usually one to like keep packaging. I tend to just take everything out of the packaging before I start filming, but I did want to show you because I think that these are just really well done overall collection. It's very thought through, like down to the small details, and I appreciate that. So I think we should just start by trying some of these things. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put on one of these lipsticks just so I can wear this throughout me doing the look. So I'm gonna start with this one. I'm gonna try to find a lip liner that's gonna be pretty good with this. I'll probably just use a Kellogg's one, which is also from Glamlite, because this is a really nice kind of brownie nude that is gonna definitely go with this color. Let's go ahead and try on the lipstick. I love the color of this. It looks so pretty. That really is a beautiful color. A very flattering, at least on my skin tone, type of nude, but I feel like this color would look good on pretty much everybody, and I really like that so far. I think we're gonna move on to eyes before I do the highlighter because I'm not sure exactly what I want to do for my eye look today, and so I don't know what I'm gonna do for blush, and since I don't know what I'm gonna do for blush or my eye look, I don't know which of the highlighters I want to wear. So I'm only gonna do one look for me today because honestly I just cannot do multiple looks in one day anymore. Like my eyes are just like, no, you can't do this to us. I don't know how I used to do that. Honestly, my eyes get really sore and just, I feel like I age my eyes at least like a month every time I do that. So I don't want to be doing that anymore, which is why sometimes if I'm gonna do multiple looks, videos just take a little bit longer, and that's just how it's gonna be because I need to take care of my eyes and I don't want to be constantly rubbing them just for the sake of getting a video up. Like I know some people are really good at doing that. As soon as they get a new palette, they'll do multiple looks, but I just need to take my time just for my own well-being. So I'm gonna do a look today and a look tomorrow with the other palette that I don't end up using today, and then that video, this video should probably go up for you on Monday. No, Saturday. It should be up on Saturday. I think that's gonna be the plan. So let's see, which of the palettes do I want to use? I think I'm gonna save this one for tomorrow because I think this one is going to be my favorite, so I want to do the other one first. So let's see, what do I want to do today? I think the only thing that isn't my favorite about these palettes is that there's a lot of very dark kind of black based shimmers in them, and those aren't my favorites. I definitely prefer kind of like more mid-tone to light shimmers, but I do think that we're going to be able to get a very nice dramatic look out of this. Not sure if this color story is really going to go with what I'm wearing, but whatever. I don't really plan on leaving the house today anyway, so let's see. I think I want to start with the darkest shade first because I felt like in both of these palettes, the mattes didn't swatch the absolute best. They felt a little bit sheer, some of them, and not as buildable just from like touching them. I don't know if that's going to, have anything to do with how they are on the eyes, but that's just kind of how I felt. So I just want to sort of play it safe and make sure that we get a good look out of this. I'm definitely very drawn to the teals, like these two. This one in particular, I do kind of want to use some of these as well though. Not exactly sure how I want to do that. I'm thinking maybe I'll do these two on the top and then I can do these three on my bottom lash line just so we can try out all of them. I'm not going to be able to use all of the shimmers, but I'll definitely be able to use enough. So I'm going to start with this one as my outer corner shade. I did prime my eyes using my Natasha Denona eyeshadow base like I always do. I'm just going to start by patting that in the outer corner and make this nice and dark. I'm keeping most of this depth in the outer corner of my eye. I'm pulling it in a little bit, but I do want the very front to be kind of light, and it's not laying down the absolute best. I'm seeing a little bit of just like lines that are creating when I'm putting it down, and it's taking a bit of just building up to get it to be nice and opaque, but it does seem to build on itself, so that's good. I'm next going to take the lighter of the teal shades, and I'm going to use that firstly in the front portion of my crease. I easily could have started with this one as well. I'm just going to kind of tuck that right in here and then blend it into the darker color. And I'm going to use a little bit of this to just blend out the edges of the dark blue as well, even though this is also quite a dark color. So if you're someone who feels like you need transition shade, you might have to bring in something a little bit lighter in order to get a nicer, easier blend. Taking a bit more of the dark blue, just going in and intensifying that in the outer corner. I think this is looking quite nice. I think the blend needs a little bit more work, but we can work with that after. I'm gonna move to my lower lash line now. I'm gonna start with this darkest shade here, and I'm gonna use that just on the outer, very outer corner of my lower lash line. This one is very, very dark and very pigmented. Honestly, a little bit more pigmented than I was expecting, but that's okay. I'm just gonna make sure I connect this to the outer corner of my eye. Just gonna lay down these colors first. I'm next gonna take this shade right here. I think that's gonna look really pretty next to it. And these palettes do not have names on the shadows, which I honestly like that because it's a lot easier to point instead of having to read a name and then sometimes butcher names because I don't know what they mean. So for me as a YouTuber, I prefer when the shadows don't have names, especially when they're different enough that if I say purple, you're gonna know which shade I'm using. This is a really, really pretty color as well. And then for the very front portion, I'm gonna take the lightest shade in the palette, which is this one. And I'm just gonna put that right here. I mean, so far all of these shadows are performing very, very nicely. I'm gonna just gently blend the edges now underneath my eye, just to make sure I get a bit of a blend and that everything is coming together and blending nicely in the outer corner. So I do feel like the blend like right here isn't looking great. So what I like to do is I like to take a very pigmented sort of bone colored matte. I like the one that is in the Blend Bunny palette. This is the Dollhouse. I'm gonna take this shade right here, which is the one that I normally use for this. Just gonna take sort of a big fluffy blending brush, dip that into the shade here and just kind of run that underneath here and sort of help with the blend. Find that this helps if your edges on the shadow isn't perfectly blended. So I think this is fine for now. Let's do some shimmers. I am going to use some of my NYX glitter primer just to make sure that these shadows get to be shown at their fullest potential. I'm just gonna put the glitter primer pretty much all over my lid where I want the shimmers to go. I don't use a lot of this. I just use a very, very small layer because I do find if I use too much, my shadows tend to crease. I just want to have a little bit of a tack on my eyelids before I go in with the shimmers. So I'm gonna probably use two. I'm gonna start with this shade right here, which is the lightest one. And I'm gonna use that in the probably most of my lid, if I'm being completely honest. I'm gonna just start it here and just, wow, that is so pretty, so sparkly. Oh, I really like that color. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the darkest of the shades here, which is, I wanna say this is probably darker than this. I'm gonna use a bit of this one, which is a very dark kind of bluish teal color, and I'm gonna just put that just to kind of merge the other shimmer in with the matte, and I think this is gonna be a really good color for this. I do wish, like I said before, that there was a lighter shimmer in this palette, but I'm gonna use the highlighter to just get a little bit more light into this, especially in the front portion of my lid. I do prefer shimmers that are a little bit lighter, but if you like doing smoky eyes, oh my god, these shimmers would be beautiful doing smoky eyes with. And you can really use just one of these mattes and then put one of the shimmers all over the lid for a very, very simple monochromatic smoky eye, and that would look beautiful. But obviously I want to try out more of the shades in this palette since I am reviewing it, which is why I'm trying to jam more of these on my eyes. Taking a little bit more of the dark blue matte that we have in the outer corner just to make sure that it blends nicely in with the shimmer and that there's no harsh line anywhere. And what I'm gonna do next is I'm first gonna take this shade, which is the which one do I want to use actually? I think I'm gonna take this one, which is more of a yellow iridescent shade. I'm gonna use this on my lid, and I think probably I'm gonna use both of them on my eyes as well as my face. So I just want to see what this is gonna be like without spraying it. So I'm just gonna tap a little bit of, oh yeah, that is exactly what I wanted. Just gonna tap that on the front portion of my lid here just to lighten up. Oh, that is so pretty. Lighten up this shade. I already know I'm gonna love this as a highlighter because this formula seems absolutely wonderful. And these on their own would make for such nice eyeshadows even without layering it over something else. Like, I love using iridescent shades like this on my eyes, or even just iridescent highlighters. But I mean, you can really use them interchangeably. If you have iridescent highlighters, use them on your eyes. If you have iridescent eyeshadows, use them on your face, because a lot of the time it's pretty much the exact same thing, just a different format or size of the pan, but they perform the same on the eyes and the face. Yeah, this is beautiful. I'm gonna take some of the other color in the highlighting palette as well, which is the pink one with a bat on it. And I'm just gonna layer that on the front portion of my lower lash line to lighten this one up a bit too. And this is doing exactly what I wanted to do. Like, I really like having a lot of contrast in my looks. I like having something very light and something very dark. And this is definitely helping me achieve that result, and I really like this look so far. I think what I'm gonna do next, I do want to use this on my face, so I'm gonna find a blush and just put on a blush. That is one thing I really want to see from Glamlite. I want them to come out with like a full range of blushes. That's not a collection, that's not a limited edition item. I think that they would absolutely kill it if they did. I'm just using one of my Pat McGrath blush trios or like face trios because I wanted a just kind of pink blush. I felt like that would be quite appropriate. I'm pretty sure this palette is not available anymore, but I think all of these are sold individually. This is the shade called Venus Nectar. If it's this one, then that would be this one, if you're wondering. Now let's try out the highlighter. I'm definitely going to use the pink one for this look, and then we can use the other one for the look that I'm going to film tomorrow. So I'm going to take the one up top here. I'm going to use an unearthly brush. I love this for highlighters. That picks up quite nicely. I do have to dig a little bit, and we're just going to see. Okay, I love it. Yep, I love it. It reminds me so much of the Blend Bunny formula, or just like, you know, these kind of formulas in general, which I love them. They're iridescent, they don't leave a cast on your face, and they just look really nice. Like, I love these kind of highlighters. They're my absolute favorites. Oh, so pretty. So far, I might have to say that the highlighting palette is my favorite product so far. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like the eyeshadows, but I just think that this is like such a perfect product for me that as of this very moment, I think it might be my favorite. So let's go ahead and try on that's very loud, the liquid eyeliner and see how this one performs. I'm not gonna do a wing, I'm just gonna do pretty much a line on top of my lids like I normally do. I'm not usually the biggest fan of these kind of applicators, but I'm kind of trying to get into them because they do tug less on your eyes than like regular liquid liners do. It's very, I think my problem with these is that they're just very liquidy, and I'm scared that I'm gonna mess up or that they're gonna transfer if I'm like not careful, and if I open my eyes, like it's gonna be all up in my crease. I'm gonna do it a little bit thicker on the outer portion of my lid like I always do. It's not really gonna look like a wing when my eye is open just because I have hooded eyes, but I feel like thickening it up in the outer portion makes it look better when I look down. It's definitely quite easy to work with, and it is drying down seemingly fast here, so I don't really have any complaints so far. And it seems like it dries to a matte finish. I don't know if it's like starting to look a little bit lighter in some spots, or if it's just like the light reflecting off of the liner. I don't think it's like super black. I do wish it was a little bit blacker, but I think as soon as I get my lashes on, you're not gonna really be able to tell. It's also starting to feel a little bit like tight, as if like it's shrinking a little bit like on my eyes. Like I can feel it on my eyelids, which I don't love that. So I don't think that this is going to become my favorite eyeliner by any means. I'm not going to really try out the mascara because I am going to use the lashes, and I don't like putting on my mascara before I do my lashes. I try to avoid that because I find that my lashes are just in the way. Like my lashes are in the way if I go to put on my falsies after I put on my mascara, and then I'm just not able to get a good application. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop on these lashes, and I will come back. I will put a little bit of this on my lower lash line, but I'm probably not gonna have like much of a review on it, but let me just do this real quick. Okay, and here is the final look. Now, my thoughts on the lashes. Honestly, I think they're beautiful. Are they maybe a little bit too big for my eyes? Maybe not. I kind of like them. I feel like the more I get used to wearing lashes, the bigger I want them to be. But like, story of everybody's life if you wear lashes probably. But I do think these are beautiful. I can't see myself wearing them on like an everyday basis, but if I really want to have like a dramatic lash, I can see myself wearing these again. I think they're very pretty. They weren't hard to put on at all. The band is kind of stiff and thick, so if you don't like that, you might not like these, but honestly, I kind of prefer that because I feel like my lashes stay on better throughout the day with something that's a little bit thicker and sturdier, and they also last longer, so I really like them. I did cut off a lot. I cut off like 3 large chunks on the outer portion of the lash, so if you have bigger eyes than I do, they might be even more dramatic because the outer pieces were like even longer than this, so just something to keep in mind. But so far, I have no complaints. I also used a bit of the highlighter on my brow bone as well, just to kind of tie everything together. And then the mascara, I used a bit on my lower lash line. I don't think this would ever become my favorite mascara, even on my top lashes, because I didn't feel like, it felt like kind of a dry formula, and it's also not very black. But I can see myself actually using this mascara as like a first step before lashes, because all it does is kind of coat your lashes. I didn't feel like it really did much to them. I'm gonna have to try it on its own at some point, but I wouldn't say that I would run out and buy this mascara if you have one that you already like. Those are just kind of my thoughts so far. So I think we should just go ahead and move into the second look so I can really make up my mind about all of these products. Let's go ahead and do look number 2. So I already put on one of the lipsticks in the collection, and I really wanted to try this one. I don't think at the end of the day it's going to go with the look that I end up doing, which is why I wanted to put it on now and not at the end, because I'm probably going to switch into this one after because it's a little bit lighter, but I really like this color. This color is so beautiful. I did use a lip liner with it because my application without a lip liner is terrible, so I'm using one from Blend Bunny. This is the, whatever the pink shade is that does not have a name on it. That's basically what I'm using, and it worked out very well. As you can see, I have a little bit of staining on my eyes from yesterday. The green definitely stained, and I struggled to get off all of the eyeliner. Like, it kind of like crumbled off my eye, and it left little black stains on my eye, and I do not like this eyeliner. I think this is not a very good product, but I'm excited to play with the other palettes, so that is what we're gonna go ahead and do. I don't know if wearing a green highlighter is gonna necessarily go with what I have going on today, but we're obviously gonna try it anyway because I'm excited to test it, even if it's not something that maybe makes for the most cohesive look, but I might use it on my eyes again today as well. And I will say that eyeshadows wore beautifully yesterday, so I have no doubt in my mind that this palette is going to wear very nicely as well. I kind of feel like doing a bit of a graphic look today, which does mean that I'm not gonna really build and blend too much on these shadows, but it's just sort of what I'm feeling, and I'm really feeling this green shade. So this might end up being mostly a green look, but I think I want to use the purple as well. So I'm gonna start with this one. This isn't going to be part of the graphic look. I'm just gonna put this in my crease as my sort of crease shade, and then I'm gonna go ahead and do a wing with one of the darker shades. I think that's gonna be the plan, and then just pop one of the greens on my lid maybe. I did realize when I swatched this shade that it's a little bit on the sheer side, and I wouldn't, how do I say this? I feel like the shades in this palette were a little bit drier and maybe not as buildable as the ones in the other palette, just from swatching them. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to really put that to the test, but I would probably recommend going dark to light, honestly, with both of these palettes, because there are some very dark shades in them, and it would probably just make it a little bit easier to work with that way. But I mean, try both ways if you do end up getting these palettes. Usually I don't have any problems building on Glamlite's formula, but I did feel like the mattes in these palettes were a little bit thinner maybe than some of the other palettes that they've come out with. I don't know if there's a formula change or what, but that was just like my impression when swatching them. But I mean, you can see it's going on the eye very, very nicely. It's super pigmented and it's exactly the color that I kind of wanted. And it worked out well to cover up that staining that I had as well. So you can see I'm not taking this all the way out to like the outer corner because I do want to, like I said, do a bit of a wing. And so I don't really want those colors to necessarily touch each other too much until I start blending them together. So I'm going to find a very small angled brush. Let's see, what do I want to use for this? Honestly, it doesn't have to be perfect. I kind of like these sort of brushes too, which are just kind of flat, because that way I can stamp on a color where it is that I want it to be. So I'm gonna take this shade here, I think, which is, I guess, more of a dark. Yeah, that's definitely the one that didn't swatch the best. So we're gonna see how that performs. It's definitely more of a sheerer formula. I might get some fallout with this, but what are you gonna do? So I'm just gonna basically stamp this like I would if I wanted to do like a big wing for my hooded eyes here. Just gonna put that line where it is that I want it to be. So that looks very pigmented actually on the eyes. Just gonna do the same thing, make sure I get the angles like somewhat even. I'm just going up from where the outer corner of my eye is. And one of my eyebrows is always a little bit lower down than the other, which makes it really hard because I have more kind of room on the outer corner on this side than I do on this side. So sometimes it's tough to make them look like they're even. I might have to like just pull my eyebrow down, like the tail of my eyebrow a little bit more on this side. But now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and sort of connect this to the top of the hood of my eye in a bit of an angle. Just get like a bit of a shape going here like that. Just gonna make a triangle. Don't worry, you guys know it comes together in the end. It just looks a little bit weird when you're in the middle of doing it. I'm gonna switch to a pencil brush now, just a tiny little pencil brush, and I'm gonna start filling in the wing as well as the outer corner of my eye. I always tend to use a lot of brushes when I do this because in some spots I need to be precise, and in other spots I want to be able to like put on a little bit more color and pack it on. So I don't really love this shade, if I'm being honest. It's definitely a little bit on the sheer side, and it's taken a bit to sort of build up, but I'm sure I'll be able to get it to do what I want it to do. It's just going to take a little bit more time. So I'm starting to connect this in the crease now, just kind of tapping it in towards the middle of my lid. I don't think I want to blend these two together too much, and I am going to put one of the dark purple shimmers, I think, like on my lids in the outer corner. So this will be somewhat covered up, but I do like just having a bit of a base down for the shimmers to go on top of. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this shimmer on the outer portion of my lid, and I'll probably use one of these. Probably this one on the front portion. So I'm gonna start with this shade right here, and I think I'm just gonna go ahead and spray this a little bit. And I'm gonna start in the middle and just make sure I get a good blend with the outer corner of my eye. I don't usually prefer having too much of like black based shadows on my eye because I feel like, number one, they tend to give me fallout during the day, which I don't love, and also I just prefer having lighter shimmers in the front. But these are nice for kind of blending into mattes and getting a smooth blend. I'm trying not to take this further in than like halfway, and then I am going to pull the green over it again so that not too much of this is showing, but I just want this as more of a like a bridging shade between the colors so that I get a good blend, because a lot of the time it's a lot easier to blend shimmers in together than it is to blend a matte into shimmers. If I were to put that green all over my lid and try to get a good blend with that very dark purple color, that would be a lot harder just because there's such a big contrast in not only color but formula as well. So doing it this way is going to make the blend just a little more seamless. So I think that's looking really, really nice. I'm probably going to go in and perfect it a bit more after, but I'm going to dip into the green shade here, and I think I'm going to just spray this as well because I'm just lazy and the spray bottle was closer to me than my glitter primer. So that's just what we're doing. And I'm realizing now that this is kind of a Beetlejuice inspired look maybe, just with the color combinations. That was not part of the plan at all, but here we are. I feel like you've all probably noticed that I've really been enjoying doing like this kind of shape on my eyeshadow. Not only do I find it to be extremely flattering on my hooded eyes, but it's also so quick and easy to do. And since it doesn't involve a lot of blending, the only thing that really takes a little bit of time is getting the wing portion on the outer corner to be good. But honestly, that doesn't take that long either. So this is like one of the quickest sort of eyeshadow shapes that, or looks that I feel like I do. Like even doing a normal look where you like deepen up the outer corner, like it requires a lot of blending, and blending takes time if you want it to look good. So I feel like this just works out really nicely for me, especially on days where I maybe don't want to spend, you know, 30 minutes on just my eye makeup. So yeah, I've been really liking this. I think this is super fun. And I also don't usually put anything underneath my eye when I do these kind of looks. I tend to want like all of the shadow to be on the top, and I don't really know why, but I just haven't drawn to that. So I think that's basically gonna be it for like the shadow part. I think what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna dip into the highlighter, but first I'm gonna put on a little bit of blush. And I think I'm gonna use the color Salmonberry in the Menagerie palette because this is such a beautiful color. Now, is it gonna go with the green highlighter though? That is the question. But honestly though, like which blush is really gonna go with the green highlighter? I think the answer is none. Because all blush colors are not really perfect with green to begin with, except for maybe like a brown or something like that. But this is what I'm gonna do. I love this color. This is so pretty. They do sell these individually. I don't know if the palette is available anymore, but they do have all of these palettes individually. I don't have a code or anything with Menagerie. I'm pretty sure nobody does, but if you're interested in this palette, just know that if there's a color or two that you want and you don't need all of them, you can easily just buy them in a little compact on their own on the website, and these are just so pretty. But just keep in mind, this palette is super pigmented. Like you see this color, like normally if you use a color like this, it would probably barely show up on me, but it's so pigmented that I almost have to be careful with it. So just keep that in mind if you're interested in the blushes from Menagerie. They're very pigmented, but I don't mind that. I like the colors enough that I'm okay with working around the fact that they are a little pigmented and use some tricks to kind of tone them down if I have to. So we're gonna go into the highlighting palette. I'm gonna use the green shade. I'm gonna start with it on my face. We're gonna see how it looks. I feel like this is gonna look really pretty. Yeah, it honestly looks more, does it look more yellowy? It's very, very glittery. If you do not like a glittery highlighter, stay far away from this. I honestly don't mind. I feel like it's not as kind of intense as I thought it would be, but I also have powdered my face. So if you don't set your face, this is going to be extremely intense, but I feel like this isn't sticking to my face as much as maybe I thought it would. So it's not, I mean, it's obviously intense still. Yeah, I do think that looks really, really pretty. And I am going to use that as my brow bone highlight as well, which is going to be absolutely perfect for that. I love that already. That looks so good. And I'm of course also going to use it as my inner corner shade. And I think that's gonna be it for the look. I'm gonna put on some different lashes today because I did feel like the lashes in this collection were just a little bit too big for what I would normally go for. I really did like them, but it's not like an everyday pair of lash for me, at least not yet. So I'm gonna go ahead and just put on another pair and finish off with this look. And I'm also going to switch to this lipstick so you can see what it looks like on. And here is how I decided to finish off. Now, I gotta say, I love this lip color. This is so pretty. So this is the Orange Tube. Do these have names? They do. This is the Jeepers lipstick. This is beautiful. One thing I should probably mention though is that these are not like completely transfer proof because I wore this obviously while I was doing my whole look and it had not dried down. I felt like the first one, which was the Rephr lipstick, definitely felt a bit more like a matte, but it also didn't dry down completely. So these are more of a, I don't even know how I'd explain them. They're not like satiny, they're not necessarily shiny lipstick, but they're more of like a semi-matte. Yeah, I think that's a good way of describing them. I did feel like they were fairly long lasting. I mean, I did take it off after lunch, so I didn't wear it for a very long time yesterday, but I really do like the formula so far. And this color might be my favorite. Like this is a very sort of everyday kind of color for me. Like I love my pinks. I'm a big fan of pink lipsticks. And I mean, honestly, I like nudes too. So I feel like I'm gonna get a lot of use out of both of these colors because they're so pretty. And I really appreciate that they made these very wearable colors and it's not like a dark purple. And well, an orange would have been nice and a green. Like, you know, I like the fact that they made something that you're going to be able to wear on a daily basis, unless you're someone who likes to wear crazy colors on a daily basis, and good for you. I wish I was that person, but I'm not. But I really like the colors, and so far I would say that my review on this collection would be that I'm trying to find everything that's in front of me, the story of my life. I really like the palettes. I think the color stories in the palettes are really, really fun. I think that this is something I haven't seen before. Like, I feel like this color story is quite unique. It's very dark, very grungy, but it still has a very distinct kind of look to it. Like, if someone were to wear this palette out and I looked at them, I could have guessed that it came from this palette. And I like color stories that are like kind of different enough that if someone wore them, you could maybe figure out what it is that they're wearing if they're only wearing one palette on their eyes. But I think this is beautiful. I do think maybe some of these purples are a little bit too similar to maybe have both in the palette, but it's just me nitpicking. I think these are really fun, and I'm very happy to have them in my collection. I think that this one is probably my favorite, just color story wise. I feel like this has a little bit more contrast to it. It goes a little bit lighter in both the shimmers and the mattes, and so like I said, there's just more contrast, which I really like. And I think I like the colors of the shimmers in this palette a little bit more than in the other palette, because I prefer shimmers that are on the lighter side. But just keep in mind that a lot of the shimmers in both of these palettes are sort of black based, so they're going to look pretty dark on the eyes. So if that's not something that you're into, you might want to either skip on this or be okay with like bringing in something else that is a little bit lighter to kind of work with it, but that's not a problem at all. And if you end up getting the highlighting palette, honestly, this works so well with both of the palettes, because it's basically sort of a purpley pinky iridescent shade and then sort of a yellowy greeny iridescent shade, and that just goes perfectly with both of these. So I'm so happy I have this. I think this is beautiful. I really enjoy this highlighting palette. I think they did an amazing job with it, and also the cover of it is just so cool. Like, I can't stop looking at it. It's just, I wish more brands would make fun stuff like this. The two things in the collection that I don't like is the mascara. I did try it today before I put on my top lashes, just to kind of see if I would like it as a mascara. I didn't go very heavy. I just wanted a very light coat, but it felt like it started clumping very quickly, and it's just kind of a, I don't even know how to explain this formula. I just don't like it. Like, I feel like it makes your lashes very black and it kind of coats them, but it doesn't really lift or lengthen. It just puts a lot of products on your lashes without really like doing anything else. And so, not my perfect mascara. I'm not using it under my eye, just FYI. I'm using my Bad Gal Bang because I didn't feel like this really did what I wanted it to do. But this is a good mascara for kind of like gluing your own lashes to the falsies. Like, I'll always put a little bit of mascara like on and then sort of squeeze them together. And I like using mascaras that I don't like for that purpose, because I don't want a lot of mascara. I just want a little bit, and I feel like this is going to be the perfect mascara for this. So I'm honestly happy I have this, but I would never use this as just like a mascara in an eyeshadow look. So those are just kind of my thoughts on the mascara. I also do not like this eyeliner. Like I said, when I used it, it just kind of, I don't know, there's something about it that reminds me a lot of like a magnetic eyeliner. If you've tried the magnetic liners, you kind of know what I mean with that feeling when they're like drying down and they just feel kind of like icky on your eyes. I don't know, maybe that is just me, but I don't like it. I also find it hard to remove. It's not that easy to work with. It's not that black. It kind of like loses its intensity once it starts to dry down. And I don't know, I don't like it. So those are going to be my thoughts on the collection. I think that they did a really good job with like the overall theming, and I'm really happy I have a lot of these products, and I can feel that I'm going to be using especially the lipsticks a lot, because the colors are so nice. And honestly, I really like the lip products from Glamlite that I've tried. I really don't have any complaints. I feel like I reach for them quite often, and that says a lot, because I have like my favorite lip products, and even though these might not end up in my absolute favorite drawer, I can still see myself wanting to use them a lot because the colors are beautiful, the formulas are really good, and overall I like the packaging as well. I like the feel of it. It kind of has like that soft velvety touch to it, and I really like that. So that's going to be my thoughts. Thank you so much for watching as always. I of course have a Glamlite playlist if you want to see some more content, and if you're new, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.